But I'm also fine with saying what I gotta say. And then if y'all still believe the lie, then that's fine too. But how about this? Let's just stop leaking stuff. Let's just stop leaking stuff, y'all. I'm tired. I'm tired. And I don't want to feel, I'm about to keep talking about this, and I also don't want to feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Like, oh my God, I have a movie coming out. That means a fake rumor is about to come out. Another thing about the divorce is about to come out. Okay, I have this movie coming out. Oh God, and we're just waiting for something to it's too much. It's too much.
Imagine walking through your door, expecting peace after a short trip, only to stumble upon your own husband in bed with your cousin. That's exactly what happened to Teyana Taylor, and what followed was a storm no one could have predicted. This isn't just a cheating scandal and trust shattering before our very eyes. It's family love. Teyana Taylor, known for her grace and authenticity, returned home early from a quick overnight trip, thinking it would be a quiet evening. She had told Iman, her estranged husband, she'd be gone until the next morning, but fate had other plans. As she entered her home late that night, something felt off. The lights in the guest room were on. She could hear faint laughter, voices. It didn't feel right. Curious, she crept closer, unsure of what she was about to witness, and then there it was. Iman, her husband, shirtless, lounging in bed with her cousin. Not just any cousin, someone she had grown up with, someone she trusted deeply, someone who had been a part of her inner circle for years. Her jaw dropped. The room spun. She froze, unable to process what her eyes were seeing, and then, like a thunderclap, she screamed, "You've got to be kidding me!" The sound of her voice echoed through the house, a piercing moment of realization that changed everything. Teyana's heart was racing, but she didn't hesitate. She marched into the room, her hands shaking in anger. Iman scrambled to grab his clothes, looking as stunned as she felt. Her cousin, still in bed, pulled the covers over her body, but it didn't help. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered, desperately trying to diffuse the situation. Teyana's rage exploded. "Not what it looks like. You're in my house, in my bed with my husband. This is exactly what it looks like." Iman, still speechless, couldn't gather his thoughts. The gravity of his betrayal was sinking in, and the fight that erupted was inevitable. It wasn't just words. It was shouting, slamming doors, glass breaking. Neighbors reported hearing the chaos, screaming, things crashing, glass shattering. One neighbor even called security. But by the time they arrived, Teyana had already made her decision. No second chances, no discussions. She kicked both of them out into the night. The raw anger and disbelief radiated from her. In the midst of the madness, Teyana did something unexpected. She pulled out her phone and recorded a 23-second clip. The words were venomous, filled with the pain of betrayal. "You betrayed me twice." Fans who watched the video later would be struck by the word twice. Was this really Iman's first offense? The video quickly went viral. Within 30 minutes, it had been shared over 200,000 times across Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It shocked fans. Some couldn't believe their eyes, while others weren't surprised at all. In the video, Teyana's cousin could be seen crying, mumbling apologies while holding a blanket to cover herself. There was no escaping the truth. This was no ordinary love triangle. It was a family's fracture, and the public couldn't look away. As the video spread, the fallout was swift. Teyana's family was in chaos. Her aunt, the cousin's mother, posted a blunt message on Facebook: "We don't claim her anymore." The public humiliation was unbearable. Other family members took sides, unfollowing each other, and group chats erupted with angry exchanges. Teyana's friends were texting her, trying to offer support, but the tension was thick. At the center of this family war was her cousin, who had been a trusted confidant for years. It was like a knife to the heart for Teyana. "I never thought she could betray me like this. Not like this," she confided to a close friend. "I don't even know if I can call her family anymore." Meanwhile, Iman's response to the situation only made things worse. He and his close friend Derek tried to downplay the entire episode. "It was a misunderstanding," Derek explained to Teyana's friends. "The cousin was going through some emotional stuff, and Iman was just trying to be there for her. The fans weren't buying it. Comments poured in, accusing Iman of gaslighting. This isn't the first time he's done this," one fan posted. "You don't betray someone like this and then play the victim." In the aftermath of the scandal, a new character emerged, Teyana's childhood friend Vanessa, who had known Iman and the cousin as well. Vanessa had always been the neutral one, offering advice to both sides in past conflicts. But now, she found herself torn between loyalty and truth. She had been friends with Teyana long enough to know how much this betrayal would hurt. "I can't believe she did that," Vanessa said when she spoke to Teyana privately. "But I also think you need to know everything before you make any big decisions. There's so much more to the story than what we're seeing." Vanessa's words weren't comforting, but Teyana needed them. Vanessa's insight into the past, history of Iman and her cousin, the subtle signs, the secretive behavior, opened a new layer of suspicion for Teyana. She felt betrayed, not just by the affair, but by how many had kept quiet while this was going on. Meanwhile, Iman was trying to salvage his public image. His close friend, Derek, continued to make excuses for him, calling it a moment of weakness. Teyana's fans were relentless, and their support for her was undeniable. They flooded her social media with messages offering love and encouraging her to be strong. Some even suggested she turn the pain into music or a documentary, whatever it took to reclaim her narrative. But then, an unexpected twist. Teyana's mother, who had always kept a low profile, made her first public statement on Instagram. "You think you know someone until they show you their true colors. I'm disgusted by how low they've both stooped. I raised her to be strong, but no one told her it would hurt this much." This outpouring of support from her mother added another layer of emotion to Teyana's healing process. For the first time in weeks, Teyana allowed herself to cry, to let the anger and betrayal wash over her. Her mother, who had been so protective of her, was now by her side, supporting her decision to cut ties with both Iman and her cousin. But even as the public opinion sided with Teyana, her cousin, Grace, was not staying silent. She took to social media, claiming she had been manipulated by Iman. "I never wanted to hurt her. It was a mistake and I regret it every day. But don't let anyone tell you I did this out of malice," Grace posted, begging for forgiveness. Teyana, however, wasn't ready for reconciliation. She wasn't sure she ever would be. She couldn't even bring herself to read Grace's apology. The wounds were still too fresh, and the pain of seeing the person who had been like a sister to her in such a compromised position was too much. As the days passed, Teyana kept the world guessing. Would she take legal action? Would she write an album? Or would she continue to retreat into the quiet strength she had always been known for? With each post, each cryptic message, Teyana had the world hanging on every word. Her business partner, Naomi, saw how badly the betrayal was affecting Teyana. Naomi had been her confidant and manager for years, guiding her through her rising career. "You can't stay silent forever," Naomi said one night over dinner. "You need to tell your side of the story, but on your terms. Don't let anyone else define your narrative." Teyana nodded. She knew Naomi was right, but the emotional toll was unbearable. How could she rebuild when the foundation of her life had cracked? Teyana wasn't alone in her journey, but even with all the support, it was clear. This was a battle she had to fight on her own. Her fans were there, her family was there, and even her business partners were pushing her to stand up and take control. But the personal wounds from Iman and Grace cut deeper than anything she had experienced before. The whispers of legal action grew louder, and many fans were waiting for Teyana to take the next step. A lawyer even contacted Teyana's team, offering to help her sue both Iman and Grace for emotional distress and defamation. But Teyana wasn't sure. The betrayal was still too fresh, and the world was still watching her every move. In the meantime, Iman and Grace continued to navigate their own fallout. Grace had been publicly shunned by the family, and her relationship with her own mother was strained. Iman, on the other hand, was spiraling. His career was facing a significant downturn, and his fans were increasingly distancing themselves. What had once been a golden couple was now a fractured image, and the public had no sympathy left for them. Teyana, though, was slowly finding her footing again. Whether she would forgive or move on was a decision that only time could tell. What was certain, however, was that her story was no longer just about betrayal. It was about strength, resilience, and reclaiming control. As Teyana took a step back to process everything, the weight of her decision to cut ties with Iman and Grace settled heavily on her heart. But there was one thing she knew for sure. She wasn't the same woman who had walked into that house that fateful night. The betrayal had cracked her wide open, but now she was starting to feel the strength to rebuild. Days passed, and Teyana's social media presence remained a mix of cryptic messages and reflective posts. Her followers hung on every word, wondering if they would get any insight into the emotional war she was fighting. But Teyana wasn't ready to share everything. Not yet. She was still processing the betrayal, still figuring out how to reclaim her life after the devastation. Meanwhile, Grace, her cousin, continued to stir the pot. Her Instagram live videos became a spectacle of guilt and desperation. She constantly went live, crying, pleading for forgiveness from both Teyana and the public. "I never meant for it to go this far. I was confused, lost," she sobbed one night, her face flushed with tears. "Iman manipulated me. He told me everything was going to be okay, that he was going to leave Teyana for me." Her words, though riddled with remorse, only added fuel to the fire. Fans were divided, some sympathizing with Grace, while others felt she was using the drama to gain sympathy and attention. Teyana, however, remained silent on the issue. The hurt was still too deep to speak about. Iman, on the other hand, had gone quiet. His fans were still rallying behind him, trying to explain away his actions. But the mounting pressure was becoming unbearable. Rumors